Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today in our discussion for breaking down departmental silos to reduce risk by IsoMetrix. My name is Kevin Ferris, and I bring 20 years experience of delivering software solutions to both public and private sectors, specializing in digital transformation strategies. I've successfully partnered with many CEOs, executives, and EHS professionals throughout the course of my career. Today, we're going to first talk a little bit about IsoMetrix. Next, we will start the demonstration and talk about how IsoMetrix dashboards can allow you to see valuable information around unwanted events or COVID-19 trends. I will then walk you through how our system can help your organization manage a positive COVID case across the business. After the demonstration, we'll end with a Q&A. So IsoMetrix is one of the world's leading providers of enterprise software for governance, risk, and compliance, specializing in integrated ESG, sustainability, environmental health and safety, enterprise risk, audits, and compliance. We have global offices, but you can see here we're located in Boston and in Atlanta here in the US. We're going to break down departmental silos to reduce risk with IsoMetrix. With many employees continuing to work remotely, there has been a sharp increase in emerging risk that businesses need to consider. Manually tracking these risks using a traditional risk management approach, where individual departments manage the risk, puts the business and its people at risk. Organizations need to understand the golden threads or interconnectivity between its people, processes, risks, controls, and events. Not understanding these golden threads causes different departments to duplicate efforts, thereby increasing the time it takes to respond to an incident. For example, if an employee tests positive with COVID-19, the social, safety, health, HR, and legal teams must execute a unified response plan. It's not only expected, it is the right thing to do. So in this session, you'll learn how an integrated risk management approach enables organizations to protect its workforce and reputation, how technology can be leveraged to unify compliance, health, and safety teams across geographies, in turn, reducing risk and achieving operational excellence. We're also going to learn how IsoMetrix can be used in response to today's pandemic and future unwanted events, and then how the golden threads link people, processes, risk, controls, and events. I mentioned golden threads, and you're going to hear the phrase golden threads today throughout the demonstration. It's our competitive advantage that lies in our ability to integrate all solutions with a central enterprise risk and compliance management framework. Really, a golden thread is simply an intelligent association of common elements to highlight issues that are considered material to the business, and that once revealed, it can manifest throughout an organization. IsoMetrix dashboards help visualize these connections very explicitly, providing insights into the potential impact of events, risks, or any data captured in IsoMetrix across a variety of processes, which supports informed decisions. Okay, so let's take a dive into the dashboards and I can show you what I mean. IsoMetrix dashboards allow management teams to navigate specific information from various modules within our solution. In this case, I will navigate to the EHS dashboards. From here, you can see an overview of all incidents that have occurred within our area of responsibility. All the elements of the dashboards are clickable, which allows us to filter specific information. Navigating to a specific area, we will then apply a filter to that area. Here we'll select the US, then drill down to all events in the Texas area. This allows us to interrogate the data and can also navigate us over to the event analysis. Here you can see valuable information around incident or COVID-19 trends. You can narrow the trends to the day of the week, the time of day, as well as the historic trends. Other filters can be applied or altered by selecting these filters here above. Let's add Colorado and Florida to the selection. You can also move all of these filters around to see more data. If you want to perform an in-depth analysis on injuries or illnesses that occur, we can then navigate to the injury tab. Here we'll see the injuries and illnesses related to the contractors, communities, and employees. You can track whether it is an illness or injury, what the mechanism of the injury was, and the activity being performed at the time of the injury. Lastly, you can track if it was reported. If you want to do a deep dive on illness analysis, you can then have the option to perform a parallel analysis, which I'll show you here. Within the injury analysis, we can focus our attention on specific illnesses. Here we'll look at respiratory systems. In this case, we'll filter on viral infections. The screen will display trends as we apply the filters, indicating that in the warehouse, we had 4 cases of viral infections in recent weeks. These infections were direct contact from a person or object infected with the virus. There was also suspected contact with persons or objects, as well as secondary contact. The information is clear that we had a positive COVID case in the warehouse, and it spread over to our office, maintenance, and transport areas. If we want to make this image part of our monthly reporting, we can simply take a snapshot up here. We can now navigate over to the storyboard functionality in our dashboards. This functionality is great because we can create a structured reporting tool that we can distribute or present to our management teams. In this case, we have introduced a cover page, an overview page, and we'll add snapshots that we've taken from the system. We'll add the action status here. We can also have the ability to drag the object onto the screen. And now let's add a paragraph to add some commentary as to why the information is relevant. Once completed, we can present our findings as a live presentation by clicking on the story button here. Once in the story, we can then navigate through the presentation. We can also add live dashboards as part of the presentation. If you want the ability to print or distribute as a PDF, we can do that as well. This will then present the report as a PDF with all the relevant information. Reports can also be saved. You can use them for future use and build a story library. Now, at this point in the presentation, I want to walk you through how our customers are reacting to a positive COVID case. We're going to use IsoMetrix as the system to manage the process. Here is an example of an incident where we had an employee test positive for COVID-19. This is a positive case in this example. However, it can be any unwanted event in the system. Here we have captured the information around the employee, date, time, and description of the incident. Once the initial report is completed, we will then move it through a workflow to the employee supervisor. There, the supervisor will then capture a register of everyone who has been in close working contact with the employee. And from there, we can take the appropriate steps like further testing. The system has the capability to then send this out to any regulatory authorities that need to see the report. This is a COVID incident, so as a next step, we will create an illness report. You'll notice all the information was passed through from the employee's HR profile, which is very helpful. Here we have captured some details around the illness, as well as job tasks, contributing factors, and very importantly, days missed from work. In this case, the employee will be isolated for 14 days, which will launch our return to work process. The return to work record will show the specific details from that specific area of importance. As part of case management, you can have multiple records showing the employee's status, whether it's unfit for work, restricted, suitable for duty, or fit for work. In this scenario, the employee will be isolated for 2 weeks. Certain items and steps need to be taken before the employee is approved to go back to work. These are outlined in the doctor's notes details. There is also an agreement section that will be completed by the employee's supervisor, human resources, and the employee's doctor. The agreement will then be populated into this report format that you see here. This will contain all the details, signatures, and information needed for the employee to return to work. Once the document is signed, it can then be uploaded into the original record for filing. As part of the process, the incident will have to be verified prior to the investigation launch. Then we will start the investigation and track the following items: investigation planning, investigation scope, and the investigation team, as well as any further supporting documentation or information. We will then capture the investigation details, which will start the process of our proprietary Golden Threads functionality, which I showed you in the beginning of the presentation. This, in my opinion, is what differentiates IsoMetrix. It allows us to integrate and connect data registers and attributes to the incident, which will create a data visualization of the risk, which you saw in the dashboards, and will continue to visualize during the process. Here we will register the risk source, COVID-19, as well as the associated risk, since again, the employee is infected with COVID-19. This will tag directly into our integrated risk management thread, and since we have identified COVID-19 as the top risk to our organization, we can now activate a bow tie analysis, where the controls are related directly back to the incident. This is just another example of the Golden Threads functionality that I keep mentioning. Once opened, you can view the bow tie in visual format. The bow tie is also configurable. You can edit specific controls as critical. You can also add critical controls by clicking on the Add button. More controls can be added, specifically from the control library, which will help us establish our control monitoring and relationships between modules, whether it be risk, audit, inspections, monitoring, incidents. Again, with our Golden Threads, the data is all interrelated. Now we will navigate back to the incident record. Here we will see all the controls related to this incident. These were the controls defined that were related to the risk and risk source. You will be able to identify and perform a control analysis on these controls. Which controls were effective? Which control had an effectiveness failure? And which ones had an integrity failure? This is very important for our critical control monitoring framework. I will now show you how, from here, we can also populate a Y analysis. This is more of a visual tool to help you move the information around. And for example, I'll rotate it here. You can also add information into the analysis. And once added, you can link it to a cause analysis. This will allow us to do a cause analysis while monitoring the risks. I'll then save it, and an image will populate back into the report. From here, I'll navigate back into the original incident record. Once saved, the Y analysis can be seen here. It can be made available in your reports. We can conclude this portion of the incident by sending corrective actions from the findings within the investigation. And then we're going to have the ability to export the full incident report into a PDF and then distribute it. Let's review some of the key takeaways from the presentation. The coronavirus has drawn executive attention to risk management. It is exactly the type of fast emerging risk with uncertain consequences that can be ignored until it's too late for traditional escalation procedures to be effective. Managing the pandemic has shown the clear business benefits of managing risk across the enterprise. IsoMetrix offers an integrated risk management solution that provides this visibility by leveraging the platform's proprietary golden threads. These threads hold everything together tightly, integrating risk disciplines and processes to allow leadership to be proactive in their decision making. That will conclude the presentation today. Thanks and stay safe.